and with your eyes. It is better for me to never hold my children, to never hold my grandchildren, to never touch my wife, to never drive my car, to never walk or run, to walk my daughters down the aisle. It's better to not do any of those things and think about how good those things are than to ever enter hell. It's a serious place. It's better for me to never see my kids, to never see my wife, to never see my friends, to never see a sunset, to never see a beautiful sky, to never see the mountains, to never see anything else for the rest of my life than to go to hell. So what Jesus has given us there is he's given us an illustration. Don't go to hell. Don't treat it like it's nothing, like it's no big deal. Don't treat hell like it's just a place. Because what we do is we departmentalize our lives. What we sit there and say is, it's something I'll worry about when I get older. It's not that big a deal now. And I'm telling you right now, it's pressing on you today. You don't know the day or the hour. You don't know what will happen to you tomorrow. But God does. God does. How horrible hell must be to never experience these great things. We'll go to Luke. Luke chapter 12. Luke chapter 12. Verses 4 and 5. It says this. Jesus says this. I tell you, my friends, do not fear those who kill the body. After that, nothing more they can do. But I will warn you whom to fear. Fear him who has killed and has the authority to cast you into hell. Yes, I tell you, fear him. Fear God. Jesus is saying this. Don't worry about what people can do to you here on earth. Don't worry about what your friends think of you. Worry about God. Because God's the one that holds your entire eternity. And I want you to really grasp that idea. What is eternity? Beginning to the end. In all of Jesus' teachings, it teaches this, that the human soul is eternal. That it's going to, it's not eternal like God, but it has the beginning of when we're born, and it will last after this. There will be a life after this. And that life after this, if this is the beginning and this is the end, and this little bitty piece is your life on earth, what you do in this little bitty piece matters. It matters for all of this. So you're sitting there saying, oh well. Not that big a deal. Jesus is saying that if you are afraid of what people think of you here, imagine what it's like how God thinks of you. Are you afraid of a kitten, or are you afraid of a lion? That's basically what it's asking. If I bring a kitten in this room, and I have a kitten sitting here, everybody's like, oh, that's so sweet. The kitten really will do nothing to you. If I bring a lion in this room, if you sit here, you're stupid. You should run for your life. That thing can kill you. But what Jesus is saying here is, it's like this, is that we walk up and we slap the lion in the face every time we sin and say, I don't care. I don't care. And what we expect is for the lion just to be all cuddly like he is on the Chronicles of Narnia, and how he's really a sweet lion. And I'm telling you right now, that lion has a lot of power. And that lion can devour every single one of you and me. God is not something that can be joked about. And every time you slap him in the face, he's like, okay. Jason Johnstone reminded me of a story that a pastor said one time. And he was talking about that this pastor was going and he was visiting this Arab country. And in this Arab country, there was a king. And so the pastor got into a taxi cab, and he started asking the taxi cab just some random questions, like tell me, what would happen in your country if I got like in a fight, or if I went up and I just slapped someone? What would happen? He's like, probably nothing. Like I don't know. It just depends on who you slapped, right? And then he said, what if I go up and I slap a policeman? And he said, well, you'd probably go to prison, or you might get beat up. Most likely get beat up. And then he said this, what if I go up and I slap the king, they'd kill you on the spot. What's your view of God? What's your view of sin? Is your sin not that big a deal? It says this, it says the majority, it says this, even the smallest sin, does it deserve eternal damnation? Like even the smallest sin. This is a survey that was done, and it says this, it says 61% strongly disagree that just the smallest sin, this is of Americans, 61% strongly disagree that the smallest sin does not deserve eternal punishment, because the punishment should fit the crime. If I just do a white lie, it shouldn't really matter that much. I shouldn't go to hell for that. Do you know who your lie was against? Again, it's like punching the lion and expecting, it's no big deal. 61% of them disagree. Another 12% of them somewhat disagree, and 7% of them, they're not sure. This shows that 8 out of 10 Americans have an incorrect view of what sin is, that they don't know what sin is. And so even in this room, all of us are American, let's say that 8 out of 10 of us believe that we do not understand, that we don't think that God is going to keep record, that we don't think God really cares about our sin, and it's not really that big a deal. Would you go up and slap him in the face? Nope. It shows that 8 out of 10 of Americans have no clue about the theology of sin. They don't understand the seriousness of their sins and understand who God really is. So here's what people's response is about hearing about hell. 1, this is what they say. This is what people say when they hear about hell and they hear about sin and death and the wrath of God. How can God call himself loving? How can he call himself just and create a place like hell? Well, this is a very much of a postmodern thought that we actually believe in this idea that how could God ever really be this mean? How could God be this way? Because does he not understand? I'm pretty awesome. How could he not understand? And what the world believes and the world teaches is that it teaches this thing that everyone should be treated fairly. So everyone should be treated the exact same fairness. And they will say this, that's not fair. That's not right. The punishment does not fit the crime. So what? I lie, I cheat. It doesn't mean that I deserve eternal punishment. God wouldn't do that, and that's not his character. Who said? And there are pastors that preach that. You know why? Because they don't read this, and they want to make you happy, and they want the church growth, but they don't want the church, and they don't want the God that comes with it. So they dumb it down. They don't read those passages. And I'm telling you right now, if I love you, I tell you the truth. That's not really fair. God wouldn't do that. You want fair? 100% of us in this room are all sinners. You know what every one of us deserve? Hell. We all deserve it. Eternal punishment. We deserve everything. For every sin in our life, we deserve every one. Even if we just had one, it would be against a holy and perfect God. All of us in this room. It says the gates of hell are wide. And the gates of heaven are very, very, very narrow. Let's say there's 10 billion people that have ever lived in this world. I don't know, I'm just making up a number. But let's say there's 10 billion people that have ever lived in this world. How many of those people are going to heaven? This is where I get most people and they go, I don't know, half. The gates of hell are broad and the gates of heaven are so narrow. Are you in that group? Do you know him? That's next week. Sorry. When we sin, we belittle the name of God. We steal the glory that he deserves. We want it for ourselves. God is loving, and he wouldn't be mean, is what we say. That we say that God is loving, and he wouldn't destroy anything that he creates. Scriptures show and prove that the wrath of God is being held back. It says that it's holding back, that at any moment, in Hebrews it actually says that he's ready to burst open the universe and just to take care of everything that he has made. to make everything and set it in right motion. Therefore, they experience that every day, every one of us experience the grace of God, if we're believers or not. That he holds back his wrath. The sun comes up every morning. The breath that you're breathing right now, he gave it to you. The second thing that people say is this, and I have this in my own family. I guess everyone's a sinner. And I guess everyone's going to hell. I guess I'll be there for sure. And it's like they've given up. And what I deal with a lot is I deal with this. Clint, you'll never understand how bad I am. You'll never understand how big of a sinner I am. God can't save me. They maybe even joke about it, going, well, it's going to be one heck of a party there. What they really don't understand is they don't understand eternity, of how long eternity is. And I won't lie to you, that is heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking for me. Because like I said, I have people in my family who literally have given me that same response. And I'm like, you're a pastor. They shouldn't give you that response. They don't care. So in conclusion, I want you to understand this, and I want to read you one thing. Well, probably more than one thing. But let's say this. Does the reality of hell horrify you? Does it terrify you? If you're a sinner, it should. Which everyone in this room is. The reality of hell should cause us a place to hide. It should cause us a place to find refuge in. It should cause us to sit there and go, what do I do? What do I do? And we need salvation. The reality of hell should cause a person to look for a way to escape. It's like we're in the middle of the ocean and we're treading water and sharks are literally going around us. But it's probably worse than that. There's probably a volcano coming up the middle and the sky's falling. It's probably way worse than even that. And I want you to hear me say this. If you were scared into heaven, if you were scared to walk an aisle because a pastor preached a sermon like this, you might not be saved. I'm not trying to scare you. But what I am trying to do is I'm trying to make you understand that there's a reality of sin, and there's a reality of hell, and there's a reality of eternal punishment in a fiery mess. Heaven is not a place for people who are just afraid of hell. It's a place for those who love God, that love that big God, who give praise and worship and honor to that big God. And they understand that their sin is a big problem. And there has to be something that comes and fixes it. There has to be something that keeps the wrath of God from affecting you and me, because the wrath of God, He hates these evildoers. He hates me for what I've done and what I've done to His name and how I've destroyed it. And I want you to think about it. He hates you. I don't know many pastors that say that. But I'll quote Pastor Bobby and Paul at the same time. But God. That's next week. Like, I want you to really understand this. Not but did I figure myself out. Not but did I make everything right. Not but did I, clean myself up and act right and learn all the Bible. But God, being rich in mercy, opens eyes, opens deaf ears, heals the sinner. And we'll talk about that next week. For one sense, it's not God that sends you to hell. It's you. You just ignored Him. you missed everything about life. You missed the purpose of your life. You missed the glory of God. You missed everything about how great He is. Like, think about it. If I was to ask you, how was your life? And you go, oh, it's pretty good. Why? Because of the greatness of our God. So is there any way to escape the punishment and the wrath of God? To be brought back into God's favor, to be brought back to the garden, to be brought back into perfect fellowship with God. And that's God's second response to sin. And it's through this. The wrath-absorbing cross of Jesus. He absorbs all the wrath of God for those who believe. All of it. Not some of it, not the past sin only, not just your present sin, your past, present, and future sin. All of your sin. But let's wait till next week. Let's pray. God, I thank you so much for how good you are. I thank you so much for how just you are. That, God, we will be held responsible for the sins in our life and the sin in our life. That, God, that we will have to admit every one of them one day in front of you. That we will be judged by a righteous judge. That we will see you in a different way. God, some of us in this room, we were scared into salvation. Some of us in this room maybe have no salvation at all. God, I pray, Lord, that you work on their soul. And God, let them know you. Let them depend on you. Let them believe in Jesus. Let them believe in what Christ has done. Let them believe. Lord, let us not want heaven just to get out of hell, but God, let us want heaven because we want you. God, we want you. We want everything about you, God, that you are God, and we want to praise you for the end of our days. Yes, we mess up. Yes, we make mistakes. But God, you are our goal. You are everything. God, let us take you seriously. Let us understand your severity. But God, next week we talk about your kindness and how good you are. Lord, I pray for that. In your name we pray. Amen.
You guys can stand.
Bring light to the darkness.
right, you can be seated real quick. A couple of short announcements real quick. First of all, if you see some of the men in the church maybe walking a little slower, not willing to reach and grab things off of a top shelf today, it's because yesterday morning we had men's breakfast, and so a lot of us who came were able to come and basically trim limbs and use pole saws, and a couple of us burned through a jacket or two, and so really just want to say thank you to all of you who were here yesterday, whether it's just for men's breakfast or if you did stay and help. We're so grateful for all the work that you do. Those of you who clean gutters when you maybe shouldn't have been, or whatever it may be, we're so grateful for each and every, the person knows what I'm talking about. We're so grateful for all of y'all, again, for all the work that you do in the church, so thank y'all. This Wednesday, we will not be having any activities. It's spring break for a lot of schools, and so we're kind of following suit. So no Wednesday night activities this week. March 24th, we are having an Easter egg hunt, and so to help basically prepare for that, if you will bring candy-filled Easter eggs and drop them in the Welcome Center. I know everyone who's involved in planning that would be very grateful for that. Next Sunday, we also still have Glory Gang and Baptism. If you're interested in helping or being a part of either one of those things, please sign up. Those are also out there in the back. And last thing, in your bulletin, you have a little piece of paper for visiting, or if you're a visitor, I want to encourage you, if you're interested in getting connected to our church and finding a place to plug in, not just for Sunday morning, but also finding a Sunday school or finding out what kind of activities we have for children. Again, I would encourage you to fill out those visitor cards and drop them in the offering boxes. And also for tithing, you can drop those in the offering boxes, or we have a way for you to give online. Again, guys, we're so grateful that y'all decided to come here and worship with us this morning. I hope you were thoroughly blessed. And again, I hope you'll come back and hear next week about the second response to mankind's sin. Y'all are dismissed.